Traditionally it is. Now Kyle had a brand new batch.
Okay, I will call this September 4th meeting of the Utilities Commission to order at 8:30. The clerk can call the roll.
Mr. Sires?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Here.
Mr. Reinhardt?
Here.
Ms. Busenberg?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum present. We will move on to minutes approval from the August 14th meeting. Members, you have your minutes available. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
A motion to approve the minutes.
Have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Have a second. All in favor of approving the minutes from August 14th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? Okay, good. Moving on. Minutes are approved. Adjustment journal for August. Is there an adjustment journal for August? No. Love that for us. Okay. Moving on to new business. All right, new business. We've got the West End Sewer Grant applications.
All right. Let me want to keep thinking about improving our services, our stormwater, our sanitary for our friends and colleagues in the West End. I've handed out a map labeled C003 version 1 spring 2025. I think we brought this up. Most people may have seen this before. All the sanitary for the West End eventually travels under the railroad tracks at Gambier, West Gambier. And looking at a long-term systematic improvement would obviously have to start at the downstream-most point. And one of the main goals is making it slightly larger, slightly flatter, a lot newer. I think we've noticed on Gambier there's a couple of odd depressions in the road that one of them coincides pretty well with the sanitary system. So I have not investigated that, but we know the system's aging out. It may not be the worst of the worst as far as I&I. That's something I have to work on. But the mayor's kind of put this, for me, as a priority. And Tanner said, we don't have a lot of wastewater money, so you guys need to think about how to get this built with grant money. So we have worked around our call around. So thanks to all the voters who voted for issue 2. The OPWC program has been reauthorized, and the District 17, which we are in, gets an additional $3 million. So what we've done also, we have received a new census block map from the Community Development Block Grant. And once again, the south side of High Street is a qualifying area for us to spend HUD federal funds. So with the intersection of opportunity here, we are proposing that we go to our friends and partners at City Council and ask for authorization to apply for a residential public infrastructure grant through HUD, which would be Community Development Block Grant, and a infrastructure grant through Ohio Public Works Commission. And those numbers we would come up with. So we're saying that to do a project south of High Street that gets us sort of the main trunk line replaced, deeper, better service, including putting the surface of the road back, would be approximately $1.3 million. So for this group's entertainment and consideration, we were asking the maximum we can apply for the residential public infrastructure is $750,000. And OPWC doesn't necessarily have a maximum, but it does have cost share requirements and local participation. So we're penciling in a $400,000 OPWC and then a local match of $150,000 that could be out of our asphalt funds or wastewater or a combination thereof. The typical project we like to do, instead of just replacing the exact spot where we put the pipe, when we get done, we like to pave the road. That may be sort of the next year after things have settled in and we make sure there isn't any other issues that we didn't know about. But that's an option, so we could look at our local match coming out of more than just the wastewater fund. So that's the proposal. Questions, comments, thoughts?
So this would be a submission for which fiscal year?
So the OPWC window opened on Tuesday. So we would want to, if this is the pleasure, the application would be put together and submitted by first Friday in November. And that would give us a start date, early start date of July 1st, 2026. I believe the RPIG which is Residential Public Infrastructure, is on a rolling application, so it's first come, first serve. And that could, if we put that in this fall, we could have, I think, authorization as soon as January 1st. And then you have 2 years to build the project. So the project could be constructed in 26 or 27, depending on how we get through design, neighborhood coordination, and how we are financially on our cost share.
So just for clarity of anybody watching, and even on our end, we could get the authorization from these state and federal dollars. So you're looking at CDBG as federal dollars, OPWC or state dollars. We could get the authorization in 26 for both of those, but we could potentially put the shovel in the ground or even reimburse for these dollars on our end in 27.
Yeah.
Okay. So this could be authorized, designed, ready to roll, but we could do the project in 27.
Right.
If we needed to. We could do it as soon as 26. Could roll in 27.
Right. And that's assuming we get funded on the first application.
Right.
So if we
Kind of hinges on CDBG.
if we put the project in and one of the entities denies it, we would take a pass and then potentially re-up in a year from now. So if you remember our Crystal Avenue water line, we put the application in as a joint project. There were not enough funds available. The project wasn't a priority of the other projects in OPWC, so we were not funded. And then there was no reason to take half the funding. So we deferred the project and then we're reapplying for it with Clinton Township. So the idea is this would be our first try at this. So there's a possibility we might not be the priority, but we don't know we don't know the other applications. So I think we got a really good shot at it, getting it the first time or the second time. So, and that gives us we do have 2 years to come up with the 150,000. We also, this is a project we have not put the hammer down on design. So there's a lot of work we need to get out in the field with Josh Belts, and we have preliminary design, but we don't have this finalized because we didn't know how to carve up the sewer to make it affordable, because we thought if we could only get 400,000 OPWC, we would need to make the project a lot smaller, because we wouldn't want to be on the hook for $900,000+ right? So
This will give us time to roll out that citywide I&I as well through into it.
yep.
That was-
Started on that.
Yeah, that was something that we made sure to include in that. It was about $500,000 that we allocated in that overall project scope. I remember specifically for I&I. This was a big topic of that discussion when you look at the entirety of this project. Right now, we're looking at the phase 1 of this. There are 3 or 4 phases in this.
Right, depends on how much we want to
How
spend
far
at
we
a
wanna
time.
go.
Yeah.
This could go up to $4 to $5 million if we want to do the entirety of the west end.
Yep.
So, I think this is a good start. I appreciate you guys digging into finding alternative routes as opposed to us just,
Writing checks.
right, don't like that.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy that.
No, the mayor and our partners with CDBG had some phone calls with folks at HUD, and also talked to our liaison for OPWC yesterday. So we got a pretty good shot.
Got a lot of infrastructure upgrades coming. You know, it's not that this isn't important, it's that there are a lot of other very important things that have taken priority. Of course, we have to upgrade our wastewater plant. Got a lot of infrastructure coming up, so it's a matter of, you know, putting what project in front. And while we want to get to this, we have to find creative alternatives, and I think this is one of those creative alternatives to make sure that this gets addressed. So that doesn't overburden the finances.
Yeah, and the first phase is more expensive because pretty much all of the work will be in asphalt. The nice thing about the west end, once we break through and get the main trunk line in, the rest of the sewer, the western sewers are in alleys. And so we're only crossing asphalt, you know, occasionally. But this part is more expensive, but that also gives us the advantage that if we need to be extremely cautious of our wastewater coffers, we do have the ability to put in asphalt money to make us a nice, smooth, repaved surface at the end of the project. So it gives us a little flexibility as we get into the other parts of it. You know, we're not going to be using asphalt money because there isn't asphalt there.
Something that was identified, this project adjacent, I should say, since we're talking about asphalt in the west end. One of the west end survey responses was people talking about their lack of sidewalks or poor condition of sidewalks. If we're overdoing these projects and we're in an area where there is no sidewalk, this is just, if you're on the west end and you're watching this and you're like, oh God, they're coming to dig up my entire area.
Which is normal for me.
Yeah. They already don't like that. So if you're watching this and you're like, okay, here comes the city to dig up my entire community, is this an opportunity to, after this project is done, we've cleaned everything up and put asphalt down? Is this an opportunity for a sidewalk up here?
Yeah. Well, in one of the areas that's sinking, which we're not sure if it is a sanitary lateral or a storm lateral, it has basically folded up the sidewalk like a, not quite like a taco, but it's looking like a burrito. So the idea is we start at the bottom, we get the sewer repaired, and then that gives everyone reassurance that we can put sidewalks on top. So we were just at the Farmers Exchange, just had a dedication for their new scale. They're replacing all the sidewalks in their project area, but that still leads you to kind of two dead ends on either side of their property. So I do think that this is something we could easily go ahead and add to the project if with the mayor's sidewalk fund that city council has supported. While we're out here building this, we could put sidewalks in this same area, just as another line in the construction contract. And then we're gonna be paying somewhere about $10,000 to $20,000 to move all the equipment into the site we need. Well, the neat thing about it is some of the same equipment's used to build a sidewalk.
There's an opportunity to do a lot of positive things for that area, especially that the folks in that area have identified that they don't have the sidewalk infrastructure, that they like the walkability that the city's already committed in the walkable city. So,
Well, and as we go to the next phases, the thing is important. So my understanding, talking to our community development block grant partners, right now they have a utility project and they have a critical infrastructure project. And those numbers are fixed in federal to where we can only get 750. They're discussing, I guess, maybe at the congressional level, putting those two together. And the critical infrastructure, the federal government would pay for sidewalks and utilities if it's merged with this residential public infrastructure. So if we get sort of this anchor project down, the next application could be utilities and sidewalks funded, so.
Then if we're feeling real crazy, we'll throw curbs in, right?
Oh, well, curbs are easy, because we have a
Calm
stormwater
yourself,
utility.
Ruckman.
Yeah, so,
Just
yeah.
throwing it out there.
You're out of order.
We have the ability to add some curbs too, so I don't know if that was in, I haven't looked through the surveys yet, but I think that would help. It helps the I&I because if we can keep the stormwater from sort of interacting with the sanitary lines and the laterals and get it directed to other locations, that should help. The curbs would help the wastewater system.
More of a directional flow.
Yep, get it away from the assets. Plus, the other thing, when we get done, we're gonna map all this, so we're gonna know where all the assets are, so then we can help the gas company and the phone company, and everyone not put small holes in our system.
Very appreciated.
I think your neighborhood probably had some of those experiences with the phone company. But how many times they hit the same gas line, right? So, okay, other questions?
Are there any other questions? Well, if there are no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion to recommend this proposal to council.
I make a motion to recommend this project to council.
Second the motion.
So we will have a motion on the floor to recommend the West End sanitary renovation project proposal to council as presented. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk can call the roll.
Mr. Sires,
Yes.
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt,
Yes?
Ms. Busenberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Great.
Good work.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to old business. We have third reading for backflow and fog legislation, which I think we will carry on to the October meeting.
Let me give you an update.
Okay.
I've been working with Mr. Platt in the engineer's office. He's been incredibly helpful. What we're doing is we're not doing new legislation. We're going to modify current parts of the water, wastewater sections to move the permitting from the water and wastewater department to the city inspector's office or department, and from there, and so I've just about got that done. I'm now starting to work through to make sure that we have not created any unexpected or unknown problems with the new changes. Once I do that, I'm going to ask Mr. Platt to review everything, make sure I haven't missed anything, and I expect that we'll have something for this body to see at the next meeting.
Do you want us to include, would that be a good time to include the septage and water hauling, bulk water hauling?
If we're going,
amendments?
yeah, we can do that as well.
Because it sounds like that's essentially probably under the same codes where those
It's probably-
amendments are,
It'll end up being probably a little easier.
yeah.
Just be an amendment to what
Yeah.
we have now.
Okay. All right,
So
we'll take a
if-
look at that as well.
I know Scott and Dave and Charlie and Aaron have been discussing those things.
Yeah.
So if we're just doing amendment, I mean, that's a lot easier to do amendments to existing code than an omnibus
Yes.
piece of legislation. So if that's the way that, if that's the
I
approach
think
we're
that
taking.
because we already have all of the standards and things like that in current code, and it makes, at least from my point of view, it makes no sense to rip those out to create something new when all we have to do is modify what we currently have
Yeah.
to make sure that the proper people are issuing the permits.
Well, and there are changes to that too. There are some things that are missing, and I just want to make sure that the
Well-
spirit of those.
Yes, is that there's that. The one thing that, and we'll get to, is
I know from the septic.
is the petroleum-based oils. And we're having some very few communities actually permit those into the wastewater system just because you're not supposed to. And that's the one part that I'm having some difficulty with figuring out how we really want to deal with that, because, you know, you're not allowed to dump it in the stormwater, and there are provisions there, but there's not a lot of permitting, like I said, for this in the wastewater stuff. So that may be a question that we have to discuss at the next meeting, is to, this is what other communities do or don't do. This is what we could do. Do we really want to do that? I don't know. So that's a question that I think that this body will need to review. And so it's my intention to have something to you about 2 weeks before, so that everybody can read it and have questions or reach out with questions beforehand.
And I think we can probably just go ahead and get those other amendments
Yeah.
to him. That way it's handling it all at once, as opposed to
Yeah.
doing this and then going through the same process again with.
Quick question, on the petroleum base, is that like the grit interceptors for like the car wash facilities, oil changes?
Oil water separators.
So we're having the city inspector department inspect those and regulate those? Okay.
Yeah, there's, that's sort of it, but
I would think that they would be self-regulating, and he would be certifying
Yeah.
that they are.
yeah,
It's not that
Well,
he's
we have had,
out there with the
we have had a couple of those overflow and
Yeah.
cause some problems in the West End.
but yeah, so that's the one.
Those probably fall a little more, it's kind of a dual thing. It's a little bit in stormwater.
Yeah, and
But
then,
a lot of them are collecting the material,
mhm,
but the discharge is to the wastewater system.
yeah. And
Some of
so,
them are discharging to the stormwater system, so it's.
yeah, and because you're not supposed to really discharge them, they're supposed to be intercepted.
Yeah.
That's why there's not a lot of permitting, and maybe that we need to sort of step back and then move those into the interceptor, the grid interceptor, and then do it that way rather than permit the discharge of them or something like that.
Maybe you need like a registration, more than a
Yeah.
permit. Maybe they need to register them, and then we know they're there and we can inspect them, and, because if they are discharging, they're in violation
Yeah,
of one or the other. So if they're connected to Aaron's wastewater plant, they're violating. If they're connected to the Cocosing River, they're violating. So it kind of can sit on two sets of books.
yeah,
And we need to deconflict that, but if
Yeah.
they're registered, you know, if they do a new one, those have to be on the
yeah.
plans, and they have to be, but,
Yeah, we're doing the grease traps and things, and
yeah,
maybe we'll do something like that.
I don't know. I have not been involved.
Yeah, no,
Sure that.
but I'm
you guys
just
have
trying to
agreed.
think my way through, but
Get
like I
something.
said, that's been one of the stickier points.
Okay.
All right. Is that a pun, Rob?
Look, I had to practice. I had to practice my speech with no puns. You know how hard that was?
All right. Moving on to other business. Seeing nothing in the public that needs to come before the commission, then nothing else that the body has, then I will motion or entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning at 8:54, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we are adjourned at 8:54.
Best meeting ever.
There we go.
Good job, Chairman.
How about that?
We'll probably have some adjustments, because we moved some water meters for the Mansfield Avenue. And we noticed one of
Robin,
them was
now is
spinning
your
like
time
a
to talk
fan
about
and watering
geese.
his yard.
About geese.
You'd like to come to the
A
mic.
few of those they caught.
Talk about.
Yeah.
Could have put it